Just minutes earlier, a 19-year-old girl had been riding here. Then she vanished. No screams, no body, just fragments scattered like breadcrumbs across a lonely New Mexico road. And decades later, investigators still ask one chilling question. Did Tara Calico leave those clues on purpose while someone was taking her? Tara Leigh Calico was born March 28, 1969 in Belen, New Mexico. Friends described her as focused, organized, almost methodical about life. She loved making lists. Not the messy, I'll remember it later kind. No, Tara's lists were precise. Every night, she mapped out the next day. Classes at the University of New Mexico's Valencia campus, her shifts at First National Bank, household chores, and even time with friends. Everything had a place, even exercise. 3 times a week, Tara rode her bicycle nearly 36 miles through the high desert south of town. The route followed State Road 47, long, empty stretches of farmland and scrubland before looping back toward town. Most people would call it lonely, but Tara loved the quiet. Then, a strange encounter changed everything. A few weeks before her disappearance, Tara and her mother Patty were cycling together when a truck passed them. Too close. The driver slowed down, then circled back. Patty felt something instantly, that uneasy feeling you get when your instinct starts screaming. After that day, she refused to ride the route again. She even asked Tara to stop riding it too. And if Tara insisted on going, at least carry pepper spray. Tara laughed it off. To her, it probably just felt like an awkward moment with a weird driver. But later, that moment would haunt her mother forever. Tuesday morning, September 20th, 1988. Tara was 19 years old. She dressed for her usual ride. A work shirt with First National Bank of Belen printed across the front, white shorts with green stripes, white socks, and her favorite turquoise-trimmed tennis shoes. Clipped to her belt was something she always brought along, her yellow Sony Walkman. Music was part of the ritual. Before leaving, Tara spoke briefly with her mother. Then she said something that would replay in Patty's mind for the rest of her life. "Come look for me if I'm not home by noon." At the time, it sounded casual. Maybe she was worried about a flat tire. Maybe she just didn't want to miss the tennis match she planned with her boyfriend. But those would be the last words her mother ever heard from her. Tara climbed onto her neon pink bike and rode away. Several people saw her that morning. Neighbors, truck drivers, people traveling along Highway 47. The bright pink bicycle made her easy to notice. At about 11:45 a.m., a man named Baron Freeman passed her while driving along the road, and something felt wrong. Right behind Tara was a light-colored 1950s pickup truck with a homemade camper shell. It was only a few feet behind her, too close. Freeman believed there were 2 men inside. He later said his hair on the back of his neck stood up. Something about it just didn't look right. But he kept driving. At the time, it was just a strange moment on the road. In a few minutes, Tara Calico disappeared. By noon, she hadn't returned home. Patty waited. Then she remembered Tara's words. So she got in the car and drove the same route her daughter had taken. She slowed along the road, calling Tara's name. She scanned the gravel shoulders for signs of an accident. Nothing. No bike. No daughter. By 2 p.m., fear took over. Patty drove straight to the sheriff's office. The search began immediately. Deputies, volunteers, tracking dogs. These searched miles of desert highway. But that first day, they found nothing. The next morning changed everything. Searchers discovered pieces of Tara's yellow Sony Walkman scattered across the road. Nearby lay her Boston cassette tape. The plastic shell had cracked open. The magnetic ribbon was stretched across the asphalt like spilled thread. Then investigators noticed something else. Bicycle tire tracks suddenly veered off the road. Beside them were skid marks, disturbed gravel, signs of a struggle. Patty believed she knew exactly what happened. She believed Tara ripped the headphones off and smashed the Walkman onto the road, not by accident, but deliberately. she was leaving a trail, a desperate message in case someone came looking. More witnesses came forward. 7 people confirmed seeing Tara riding along Highway 47 that morning. 5 of them also remembered the same truck behind her, the same one Baron Freeman described. Investigators created a sketch of the suspected driver. A white male, late 30s to late 40s, reddish-brown hair, about 6 feet tall, around 200 pounds. The sketch was published in the Albuquerque Journal. Several men were questioned, but none matched, and the truck was never found. 10 months later, something appeared nearly 1,500 miles away. June 15th, 1989, Port St. Joe, Florida. A woman pulled into a convenience store parking lot and noticed a Polaroid photograph lying face down on the ground. Moments earlier, a white cargo van had been parked there. Now it was gone. She picked up the photo and froze. Inside the picture were 2 people, a young woman and a small boy. Both were lying on the floor of what looked like a van. Their mouths were covered with black duct tape. Their hands were bound behind their backs. The young woman had long brown hair, and on her right leg, a scar. Tara Calico had a scar in that exact place. Next to the girl lay a paperback novel, My Sweet Audrina by V.C. Andrews, one of Tara's favorite books. The image exploded across national television. America's Most Wanted, news programs everywhere. For a moment, the entire country believed Tara might still be alive. Her mother flew to Florida to examine the photograph herself. She studied it for hours, different lights, different angles. Finally, she whispered, "That's my daughter." But experts disagreed. Some believed it was Tara. Others said the facial structure didn't match. The FBI called the results inconclusive. Then investigators discovered something strange. The Polaroid film used in the photo wasn't released until May 1989, 9 months after Tara disappeared. Meaning one of 2 things had to be true. Either the girl wasn't Tara, or Tara had been held captive for nearly a year. The boy in the photograph was later believed to be another missing child, 9-year-old Michael Henley. His parents thought it might be him, but in 1990, Michael's remains were found in the mountains. He had died months before the photo was taken. So the boy in the picture wasn't Michael, and no one has ever identified him. 2 more Polaroids surfaced later. One showed a duct-taped girl in California. Another showed a bound woman sitting next to a man on what looked like a train. None were confirmed. Eventually, investigators suspected the photos might be hoaxes, but by then, the case had changed. National attention shifted away from New Mexico, away from Highway 47. 10 years after Tara vanished, a judge declared her legally dead. Cause of death? Homicide. But the mystery didn't end. In 2008, the Valencia County Sheriff made a shocking claim. Investigators believed 2 local teenage boys had followed Tara in a truck that morning. According to the theory, they struck her with the vehicle. Tara threatened to report them, so they panicked and killed her. Other people allegedly helped dispose of her body. Yet no one was arrested. The sheriff said there wasn't enough evidence without a body. Years later, investigators turned their attention to an abandoned copper mine roughly 25 miles from where Tara disappeared. In 2025, they placed special fly traps inside the mine shaft. Certain insects only appear around human remains. If those insects were present, it could indicate someone had been buried there. The traps were collected in September 2025. Authorities have not released the results. More than 30 decades have passed. Tara's mother died in 2006 without ever knowing what happened to her daughter, but the investigation is still active. In 2023, officials confirmed they had submitted evidence to prosecutors for possible charges. Persons of interest have been identified, but still no arrests. Some locals believe the truth has been known for years. They say if you ask quietly in Belen, people will tell you exactly who was in that truck. But until the evidence appears, Tara Calico's story remains one of the most haunting disappearances in America. If stories like this keep you thinking long after the video ends, subscribe now, because some mysteries aren't just history, they're puzzles that may still be solved. And somewhere, the truth about Tara Calico is still waiting to be found.